Today, I am honored to welcome Stacia Thompson, founder of Impact Collective, an umbrella business serving both organizations and entrepreneurs. She provides fractional executive support for organizations and coaching and events for entrepreneurs and small businesses. Stacia is also the author of Pause, The Power of Intentional Rest, and the creator of the Impact Portal, connecting small businesses and resources with grant funding and other resources. Stacia, welcome to the podcast. I'm so happy that you're here.
Thank you so much, and thank you for the invite. I'm so glad to be here.
Yes. All right. So we're going to get right into it. I want us to start off by learning a little bit more about you. So when I heard fractional execs, I was like, tell me more. So tell me about your umbrella organization. Tell me how you work with organizations and how that differs from how you work with entrepreneurs.
So, pretty much with the Impact Collective, the whole reason for starting was to help create impact because that's what I've been doing for the last 25 years, working in higher education, workforce development, economic development. And so I'm bringing these 25 years of experience of what I've done for other organizations for 25 years, but now bringing it in a fractional role to different organizations so I can spread myself out across organizations. So in that fractional executive role, it could look like different things for different organizations. So for instance, for a couple of organizations, I'm actually doing major grant writing and grant development, grant management.
Mhm.
For others, I'm doing strategy, whether it be workforce. One, I'm doing workforce development strategy. Another addition strategy for their entrepreneurial programming and helping them develop and write their programming and their SOPs and things of that nature. So it just depends on the organization and what support that they need.
Awesome. So if I were to use a synonym for fractional, would it be you work in a part-time executive role in different organizations? How would that be the way that I should look at
Yes. So it's like a contract executive role. It could be time based, it could be project based, it could be a contract until your business has built more capacity to hire somebody in a full time role, or just to come in and do that strategy work for the organization for the project, or maybe they are working on a 3 year plan. They just need somebody with outside eyes to come in and lead that development and lead that strategy session for them.
And so when I hear strategy, does that mean that you have an OD background? What is your background?
Yes, so actually my doctorate is actually in higher education teaching and learning, but I took a non-traditional higher education walk, although I started doing pre-college programs, and I was at the traditional four-year college where I was academic advisor and instructor, and then I was director of a program called Upward Bound, which is for high school students and preparing them for post-secondary. But then I went to the two-year college system where I did a majority of my work. And at the two-year college system, at most community colleges and technical colleges, it's about the practicality of their education, right? It's the hands-on. So beginning of class, the first half hour, you're getting lecture, and the second half is the hands-on. So by me going to the two-year college, a non-traditional route in higher ed, because I became the director of programs that were essentially there to help and support those students to work through their programs. And then I was promoted to a role where I was director of workforce strategies. So then I no longer worked on the for credit side of the house, but I worked on the non-credit side of the house where we were creating workforce programs and boot camps.
Okay.
So I was overseeing a computer numeric control boot camp, a hospitality boot camp. So these were all programs that they weren't necessarily credit based. They were minimizing the amount of time somebody needed to retrain themselves to get back into the workforce. And then also under that umbrella, all the non-credit entrepreneurial activities and the makerspace. And we had a co-working space at the college at the time.
Yeah.
All those also fell under my responsibility, as well as apprenticeship.
So what made you get into doing this work under the Impact Collective rather than working for someone else?
Sometimes it's a calling. Sometimes things happen where you have to stop and listen and figure out some things weren't serving me any longer. And God has a way of talking to you, right? And saying, it's time for you to move, and you don't move until you're made to move. And I had all these gifts and talents, and I said, I've been doing these things for other people for 25 years. When I was at some of the institutions that I worked at the colleges, many times talents that I had that were just offered out simply because I was staff and because we had executives that were board members for organizations, or they're like, oh, we have somebody that can do that for you. And you just have to do them. It's one of those other things as assigned. Whereas if the organization actually had to go out and pay someone to do it, it comes at a pretty penny. So learning those skills and being able to do that brought me to a few years ago, actually, before I became a full-time entrepreneur, is starting to offer those services on my own for the simple fact that I've been doing them. I just been
Mhm.
doing them under the organizations that I represented.
I see. And I think that happens quite a bit where we have all these talents and gifts and abilities and we give it to the other or to another organization. We can do that for 20, 30, maybe sometimes 40 years, and then they're not as loyal, whatever reason, downsizings and
Mm-hmm.
things like that. Sometimes you're not the one that makes the decision, but it can still be a blessing because you end up doing what
Yeah.
you should have been doing from the beginning, right? I'm so encouraged by that because I know there are a lot of women who are listening to this program who are in that space trying to figure out, I know that I'm called to do something, but I'm scared to go because this pays me really well. And what
Mm-hmm.
happens if I leave and I don't make it right away? And the truth is, when you're starting your own business, there's this thing called feast or famine, right? We got to figure it out.
Yes.
And so a lot of nascent entrepreneurs do go through that figuring out phase.
Yes.
What is your purpose and how did you come to figure out what it is?
So sometimes we fall into our gifts, right? And we don't realize some of our gifts are our ministry. I believe that's how I put that name, the Impact Collective, Stacia Thompson Impact Collective, but then, just shorten it to Impact Collective, only because that's been the course of my career is making impact. So whether it be at the college, out in the community, making an impact on employment or economic development for either the organization or an individual. The individuals that came to those boot camps of mine, that was impact on
Right.
their life. They were now able to go get gainful employment and get family wage sustaining jobs. I did some work where we actually did those computer numeric control boot camps for women who were currently incarcerated.
Mm.
And they were able to, while incarcerated, get this training. On graduation, their families got to come see them after the 12 weeks through their graduation. And then because we had partnerships with employers, while they were still incarcerated, they were able to go and work on a work
Wow.
release. So think about the empowerment of whatever landed you in there, whether it was something
Mhm.
that you did or not. Because what we knew about women is many of us have landed in those situations not because of anything we've done, but because of who we loved or who we let had an impact on our life. We found a lot of women like that. Some people don't realize you have to pay child support for your children if you're incarcerated, if there's another family member taking care of that
Wow.
child. There's restitution that has to be paid. There's all these different things that have to be paid and taken care of that just sit there dormant while they're still away from home. So some of these women were able to return home with $10,000 in the bank. And what do you think that does for somebody that usually when you have returning citizens, they return to with the shirt on their back?
Right.
And so the best stories was one woman, her probation and parole officer allowed her to relocate to the area in the city where we had placed her for work
Okay.
instead of sending her home to where she might be more likely to reoffend again.
Wow.
So being able to do that throughout my career impact, so that impact is always that's I guess I would say that's my ministry. And so my goal is to have impact not only with the organizations where I'm actually doing the fractional executive work, but that one-to-one impact when I'm working with a small business or an entrepreneur or a group with some of the activities that I host for entrepreneurs each month.
Right.
That's the impact. Those are your ROI happens right in front of your face.
I love that. Wow. So when I ask about purpose, I love how you tie that into impact because at the end of the day, I think that that's what God-given purpose is all about. It's not something that we hoard for ourselves, right? God gave you these gifts and it's like, well, let's say your gift is in organization, or maybe your gift is in helping someone see what they can be. Instead of just going, well, I know how to put together an outfit, I'm just keep it to myself. You can help somebody be a better person. And
Yes.
so I love what you're saying about impact because at the end of the day, that's what we're going to be, let's say, judged on. When we hear,
Yes.
well done, my good and faithful servant, it's based upon the results that we've had, what we've
Mhm.
done with what God has given us. So that's really
Can't
fascinating.
bury our talents, right? We know
Cannot.
the story of and one have I.
Right.
But ultimately, if I bury it, then I'm not bearing fruit. It's not
Exactly.
going to ever bear fruit.
Exactly. All right. So how does your faith influence the work that you're doing and the decisions that you make or even your values?
If you don't have faith, you should not be an entrepreneur.
That's good.
They say faith without works is dead.
Right.
So I think it was the influencer, his name Big Mike, said, if you think you're going to work for somebody else for 40 hours a week and then become an entrepreneur and only work, you're sadly mistaken. It's a different grind, it's a different hustle. Yes, you're working more and it's for yourself.
Right.
But you can't expect that business is just going to fall in your lap. And I've used this analogy a few times where I read this meme and it made so much sense if you do the research on it. So we talk about the faith of a mustard seed a lot, right? Because we know how tiny a mustard seed. So people are saying you just have that little bit of faith that you can move mountains.
Right.
But faith without works is dead. But if you do the research, and biblically in Bible days, what it really meant is if you plant a mustard seed, that tiny seed can overtake your entire field. So if you have that faith of a mustard seed and you plant it and you take care of it and you nurture it and you do these things, that's what's going to grow.
I love that. And so when you think about the faith, you said you can't be an entrepreneur if you don't have faith.
You can't.
And I'm always fascinated by people who think that they want to be an entrepreneur so that other people can do all the work and they can just sit back.
A solopreneur when you first get started because you don't have money to hire anybody.
Exactly. And the thing about it is that if you're thinking that you're going to have a 4-hour work week, now who's going to do all the work? Because it's a lot of work, especially in the beginning and especially without systems. It is a lot of work to get started. And you mentioned earlier, feast or famine. A lot of times you're doing stuff that's not paying off right away. So even when you plant that mustard seed, it's about seed time and harvest, right?
Yes.
So while you're planting that seed, somebody told me something the other day that I tell you has really stuck with me. She says, you don't plant the seed and then dig it up to see if it's growing. You got to plant that seed.
I got to write that down.
Leave it in
I got to write that down.
So that it can grow. And if we have faith, that's what it's about. Faith is about leaving that seed in the ground so that it could take root and then it becomes that harvest. And I love how you painted the mustard seed, right? The tiniest little seed there is. But if we not just plant it, but take care of it and nurture it, it does become this vast harvest, could take over the whole field. And so think about that in terms of your business. God wants to do exactly that in our businesses.
Yes. And we have to remember other things. We all use the Google and chat, even in going from direct deposit every 2 weeks where you knew how much your tithes and things were going to be, right? I even did like Google chat. How do I determine my tithes now that I'm self-employed? Is it off of the contract? Is it off of, because it's always the first fruit? Just even those things, thinking of still keeping that same foundation that you had when you were working for somebody else, right? And then, like I said, faith can move mountains, but also we have the faith of a mustard, but God also gives us discernment, right? So you can't just pray your way through. Yes, prayer is a tool. It's not the work, right? So you pray for the right people to come support you. But what we want you to do is write a business plan and pray over your business plan and then put your plan to work.
Right. And pray over your business plan and ask God to send the resources and the people and everything to help you with the business plan. But you can't just write the business plan and let it sit there either. A lot of people write business plans and put it on the shelf and that's the end of that, right?
You have to revisit it. You have to see, are you going in the direction that you thought? What has to change because of the market or because just all the things, right?
Do you think that in the age of AI and the technology that we have today, do you think the traditional business plan is needed? Or when you talk about a business plan, are you talking about just really understanding what it is you're doing, who you're serving? Is it formal for you or informal?
So it's both. But to build a foundation, you need that 14-page business plan with who you are, who's your persona, what's your break even, what's your forecast, how much do you need to break, what's going to happen during feast or famine, right? What's going to happen in the famine? How are you going to be able to, what's the sustainability of your business? What's your short-term, mid-term, long-term goals? Now, go ahead and go on Claude, go on Chat. They can actually help you write that.
Right.
But just because they write it, the human side is Chat GPT, just like we said about prayer.
It's a tool.
So we have to use the tool properly. So if you don't want to pay to be on Live Plan, some of these platforms that help you write a business plan. In fact, the platform I created, I put a tool in mine for that very reason. But the chat can help you write out the same plan. But you also have to be honest with yourself and that chat. If you really don't have $50,000 in the bank to start your business, don't lie and say that. Your projections aren't going to be $2 million the first year. I mean, it might be. Don't get me wrong. Your numbers are, and what type of business and services you're offering. But you still have to be honest with yourself and honest with that chat and just chat is no better, or some of the AI is no better than what you feed to it. It's prompt engineering that's going to
Right.
give you the right product and what you need. So you have to be honest with yourself and what you put in the prompt and to spit out that plan for you, and then look at it and see and make adjustments, because ChatGPT tells you itself, I'm a chat, I'm a robot. I may not be accurate. So you're going to need to go in. And then sometimes chat makes, you make on its own. So
Mm-hmm.
until you train it or put in your, lots of your, skills to tell it how you want it to think,
Right.
you have to check everything that puts in. But at the end of the day, you still, and I say informal because sometimes we'll just do like one page framework,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Or we'll just informally like sit back and look at our numbers when we're going through our QuickBooks and things like that. But for that foundation, you need that business plan. Like if I have a pet peeve when I'm working with entrepreneurs, is that they don't check their email and they don't have a business plan.
Okay. I hear you. Tell me
Oh,
about the impact portal, because you said something about it allowing you to write a business plan, or you have the makings of a business plan in there. Do you have things in there about projections and helping people to really understand their numbers? Because I really think one of the things that a lot of entrepreneurs will do, they're like know how to do the thing, right? They're the
yes,
service, or maybe
yes,
they know how to make the product, but they really don't know the business side of it. And so
yeah.
that's where they fall short.
You hit the nail on the head. So I might be good at cooking or at making t-shirts or at crochet, whatever the case may be.
Hmm.
But maybe I need support in those resources in the other area, because now when you're working on your own, who's your bookkeeper? Who's your accountant? If you're in food, did you know that you're supposed to be actually doing your books weekly and not monthly like other entrepreneurs? Your credit, because your personal credit is your business credit to start out. So
Hmm.
actually in my portal, what I have is there's a few things in there. So there's business tools. I actually have a 10-step checklist of,
Hmm.
if you're starting a business, these are the 10 things that you need to do. And it starts with registering your business with your state, getting your EIN, getting all your sales certificates, going to open a business bank account. Keep your business and your personal money separate. Setting up your QuickBooks or however you're going to account for your sales, all these things. So it's the 10 steps to start that platform. So I have that in there. I also have a prompt to help you start your business plan and write your business plan.
Hmm.
There's also prompts in there where you can do a SWOT analysis of your either your business idea or your business growth idea. Maybe you're already in business. So my sweet spots are those who haven't started yet and those who are looking to grow.
Yeah.
Let's do a SWOT analysis and see some strategy behind that. Because sometimes what happens, you're the hottest new thing on the block for 3 months, and then the honeymoon's over and the newness wears off. And where are you going to find new clients? Because if you're selling sweatsuits and you got the one sweatsuit, okay, what's going to happen after the person has bought theirs and there's their one body 7 days a week? They can only wear clothes, some different outfits in a week.
Right.
So what's going to keep new clients or returning customers? What's that sustainability plan?
Hmm.
So the portal goes through that as well. And then I offer a grant writing class that I do in person as well as online, about like once a month.
Hmm.
And inside the portal, I have, I think it's about 600 grants, and it's updated daily. And it's by region, it's by city,
Hmm.
it's national, and the grants are in there. And inside the portal, you get so many free days to use it. And then there's different paid tiers, but what it offers you in those tiers is, if you're in my portal and applying for various grants, there's a grant tracker.
Okay.
So it'll put whatever grant you applied for and track, okay, submitted, did you hear back? So what's the due date? Oh, this due date is coming up for this grant. It also has in there a tool where you can run a grant fit check to see if it fits your business, but
Hmm.
also you can run to see you actually complete your written portion of your grant. You can upload your narrative and upload the grant, and it'll check your grant, what you wrote versus what the grant is asking for, and give you pointers and tips and give you like a preliminary score of how well they thought you write the grant and answer the questions that the grant's asking for.
That sounds extremely helpful. So it sounds to me like you have a lot of nonprofits that you work with, or is the grant writing for both non and for-profit organizations?
It's for both.
Okay.
But what some businesses don't realize too, there are often local and national resources that individual for-profit businesses can also apply for.
Mhm.
Then for nonprofits, of course, these grant opportunities, build out their services to build capacity for their organizations. And then sometimes if you're doing nonprofit type work, where you can also apply for it, because they will allow you to with a fiscal agency. So that's a nonprofit that can serve as your fiscal sponsor. and the funds will run through them, and then you give that organization of the funds for being your fiscal sponsor.
My next question talks about the impact that you want to make. So, can you share with me the impact that you hope to make through the work that you're doing?
Absolutely. So while I support all small business, I really have a focus on BIPOC and women, and specifically Black business. Because if you look up, there's an article and you can read it, and it says how long the dollar circulates in a neighborhood or in a community before it leaves. We have all of our other, even like group, their dollar stays in their community like days before leaving.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know how long it takes for a Black dollar to leave?
1 day.
6 hours.
Less than a day. Wow.
So I get paid Friday morning.
It's gone.
Before I even leave work, my dollar's been spent somewhere else.
That's crazy.
Now there's twofold. One is giving support, but the other is, are there Black businesses that offer the services where we can find them? So I think about the Green Book. I read a Green Book from that was like 1950s or 60s. Mm-hmm. And in the Black neighborhoods, there was a shoemaker and a cobbler. There was restaurants. There was the beauty salons. There was shoe stores. There was type of store thing that you could and service you could need, right? And we don't necessarily have those anymore. That's a part of it. And the other part is then just our dollar with Black businesses. Mm-hmm. And I'll actually add a third. We as Black businesses also have to be prepared to serve and prepare to work with no matter whom is giving us, right? We can't make it hard for people to support us. If we say that we're going to be open till 6 o'clock, we need to be open till 6 o'clock. We have to make sure that we are adequately training our staffs with customer service and with knowledge that we need for our business. Mm-hmm. So we also have to prepare ourselves to be able to be supported.
Yeah, I have definitely heard that statistic. I thought it was a day, and certainly 6 hours is really discouraging. I think a lot of times what I hear other people say is, I tried using a Black business and they just weren't professional. So what you're saying about training our staff to really great customer service. I think the other thing I think about when it comes to the Black dollar staying in the community has to do with the vertical aspect of it, right? And so in some of these other communities where their dollar stays for 32 days, that's because sources where they get the raw goods from are also of their culture. Whereas mm-hmm. with us, we're lucky enough if we have one level. Yes. The very level is not going to be, more likely than not, I'm not going to say all the time, but more likely than not, we're not going to go up value chain or the supply chain and meet a Black business owner all the way up. And so that's not to say it's an excuse, but certainly want to support Black businesses wherever we can get them. The other thing I wanted to say about what you're saying is purposely did it to us to make sure we don't have Black businesses. And I'll say this because you hear about all of these things like Black Wall Street and everything like that. When Black businesses were actually thriving that way, yes. We weren't really buying from we couldn't want us there, right? So we had our own businesses and we were thriving. And what do? They burn it down, right? That's the first thing. I think the second thing is even more insidious because they told us that the American dream is to go get a job and make six figures and get a house and drive a car and get into debt. And once you get there, it's almost impossible to break that, right? And so we have a lot of people who have been socialized, especially of my generation, been socialized into thinking that go get a good job,
right? So some of our other counterparts, apprenticeship. I share with you, I used to be over apprenticeship. My apprentices were coming out of after they, journeymen, years old, making $80,000, $90,000 a year as a plumber, as a pipe fitter, as electrician, all these things. And who starts these businesses? They get their children to apprentice under them and then pass along where they can either go work for somebody else or work for themselves, mm-hmm. right? So it's those things along, but also it's, gatekeeping and we get out the mud, right? If you're historically, we haven't had the highest percentage of being homeowners. Many of our counterpart businesses, they're able to borrow money from themselves because they own a home and they can use the equity in their home to start their business instead of having to go apply for a loan or go get funding. So there's a lot of things that with the gatekeeping even of how to start your business, how to get into business, and the type of businesses that quote unquote we should be in or that we should have.
Right. It's so very true. I do want to understand, you talked about the impact that you hope to make. I'm curious about the legacy that you'd like to leave behind. And so, is what you're doing now, and the legacy is like, what will you be known for? What will your grandchildren or future generations say that you did?
That I, through thick and thin, I was a resource. I think that's what it said. Like, that person that always says, I know a guy, I know a guy. I want
Like,
to
hey,
be that person. Yes, I want to be that person that is the go-to because, or I was the plug, right? Because, oh, help with these taxes. Okay, I know somebody that can help you. I want to start this business. Okay, I don't know about this, but I know that somebody that's a subject matter expert that would be amazing and that would be willing to sit next to you. I know how to apply for funding. Okay, let's sit down and do this. So that summit that's coming up, God gave me a vision. I was laying in the bed one Sunday. I had paused one Sunday. I didn't go to church that Sunday. My body was just done. But in that moment, when I decided to pause and stay in bed and take care of myself that day, God gave me a vision. All I heard was get set.
Okay.
He just it said get set. And it might be because I was my brother right now, who's 57 years old, started his first business. He, manufacturing most of his life, a tackle business. And so I'm like literally, and so I'm like, if he's going through all these things that, what businesses are actually going through, they need help getting set. So Get Set Summit was born from that.
Okay.
And so now I'm hosting this summit in October. That's a little bit different than other business summits because what it's going to be over 2 days. It's going to be a Sunday afternoon and a Monday evening. Most Black and brown businesses are closed on Sundays and Mondays. Those are the days that they can come. Mm-hmm. But also it's going to be for those who are just trying to get started. So we are actually getting sponsorship to where we can pay the $130 for people to get their LLC registered with the state of Wisconsin. Okay. And we're going to have professionals there that are going to be able to sit with them and help them fill out that paperwork. And they're going to go online right then and there and register their business and then get a roadmap to their EIN. There's going to be, Chase is one of the sponsors and partners. They're going to be on site opening bank accounts. I have other organizations, Educate Union, who's going to be coming and talking to people about their credit and what that looks like and, what their credit scores are. And then there'll be subject matter experts there who are accountants and bookkeepers and that work in food industry and that work in retail and that work in all these different industries that businesses have, as well as they're just subject matter experts on the things that we need as business owners, that people actually be able to go and sit at a table with them in groups and just because a lot of us have the same questions. So there's going to be table talks and there's going to be a clock on the wall. And so you get to spend, at this table talk as a group. Okay. From each other to network, but then also learn from that subject matter expert on how should I be doing my books? The expert, how should I be setting up my menu? What should my business hours be? So it'll get all these questions answered and they'll lead real support and real answers.
Okay. Wow. Sounds fairly comprehensive. How long have you been planning this?
It's a little over a month and it's going to be in October. So my plan is to use the community room at church. We got resources first, right?
Yes.
And so, I thought having it at this hotel and downtown and just doing all the, games. I said, start small. My first one is to get 50 people there. If we can get 50 people that are going to walk away with something, whether it's getting their LLC registered, whether it's getting the connection or learning about QuickBooks, they can start accurately tracking their information, whether it's they're getting information about how they should be running their restaurant or redo their menu, or whether it's information about their credit and what they need to do. So the whole, and again, a legacy is that there's going to be more Black that are going to be thriving instead of surviving. Yep. So I guess if I could leave a legacy, it's that, known for helping Black businesses to thrive.
I love that. Okay, well, excited for you, and I hope that we get opportunity to connect back so you can share with me how that went. And certainly, I want to put information about that in screen or in the description of this video. Mm-hmm. When you think about what your number one success factor has been, how would you describe that?
So I think it's kind of number one success factor, but then there's levels, right? So I would never imagine that I'd be in business on my own. I would have never imagined that I was going to be an author. As author of the book Pause, right? Power of Intentional Rest. And it's telling my story and then telling people, okay, now let's get your pause plan. Mm-hmm. I would never imagine that asked to come speak at international conferences, and some are in person, because I have a story to tell and I have a message to tell, even about pause. My pause started because just one day I just didn't have anything else to give. And I never forget, I dropped my son off at school, and I contacted my boss. And I just told her, I said, I'm not coming in today. It's not vacation day. It's going to be a sick day, but it's for my mental health, because I don't have anything else to give today. And it was in the middle of the week. I went back home, put my pajamas back on, got on the couch, watched mindless TV, ate a bunch of snacks, and just took a me day.
Right.
And then that became a regular practice of mine. So I started planning my pause days, or recognizing when I needed one. I remember sharing about that. I was a panelist for a women's conference, and the moderator said, "That sounds like a book." And it sat in my head for 2 years.
Wow. The book is available on Amazon. Where can
Yes, the book is available on Amazon. It's called Pause, The Power of Intentional Rest by Dr. Stacia Thompson. I also have an online shop. You can go to pauseshop.staciathompson.com, and the book is available there. It's a book, and also there's a journal to accompany it, because at the end of each chapter, there's writing prompts. You can also get, if you're the one who likes to leave your book clean, there's a journal that accompanies it with all the prompts from the end of each chapter. It really walks you through the different times in my life where I didn't pause, and what happened when you don't, because we can't pour from an empty cup. And it's not saying that you have to do anything extravagant to pause. Like I said, my first one, I literally just went home and got on the couch and did nothing. There's times when sometimes I just want, we call it retail therapy.
Right.
I'll go to the dollar store with a $20 bill and just walk up and down the aisles and see what you can find. Well, it's $1.25 now.
Right.
Or farmer's market with a backpack and a $20 bill, or it doesn't have to be anything extravagant. But I also share in the book, I did a my first ever solo vacation, just to be by myself and not worrying what anybody else wanted to eat or get up, or what excursion we were doing. Like, it was me.
And interesting, because I think a lot of times we think that we need to have somebody else to co-sign, to be around, to do stuff, but that can be taxing and draining in of itself. I know I've gone on vacations before where, like Hawaii, and was miserable. Why? Because they wanted to do something I didn't want to do, and it became a thing. And just being able to travel and enjoy your space, and that's
Yes.
ultimate me time. I traveled a lot for business solo and never thought anything of it. But when it comes to traveling personally solo, it becomes this big deal, right? But
Yes.
I that is such a blessing to be able to just give yourself that time and that space.
Yes.
What advice would you give to other women entrepreneurs who are seeking to have God-centered businesses or purpose-driven businesses?
So I think kind of what we talked about earlier. Yes, we have faith and we have prayer, but also, 7 senses, and we need to listen, to ask for help. I think sometimes, especially women, we have this, I'm independent woman, I'm a proud independent woman, and I don't need nobody's help, and I don't need, well, guess what? Sometimes you do. And don't be ashamed, because a closed mouth don't get fed. You can't be ashamed to be able to go and to tell somebody, you know what, I'm in the red $1,000. I don't know what to do. I'm losing money every month. Or there's this thing that I don't know how to do, or how do I get. That's why there are organizations and programs that exist to give you free coaching, to help you through, to go take their workshops, right? Or that's why there are subject matter experts out there that, you to put it, in your budget that you're going to have somebody else doing your bookkeeping and your accounting, because if that's not your ministry, the last thing you want to do is get in trouble with taxes and all these different things. So I always tell people, do not be ashamed to be transparent and ask for help.
That. And a lot of times people, maybe they don't ask for help because they don't even know what it is that they need to be asking about. Like, you're talking the bucks. If you're a person who bakes cupcakes and you make the best cupcakes in the world, but you don't come from a business that has businesses or has done businesses in the past, and you don't think that you need to do certain things, you can get yourself into a whole lot of trouble. So asking the questions. And I think the other thing is seeking out resources, as you said. There's so many available. SCORE.
I was going to say there's SCORE, small development, chapter chambers and chapters in, every major city and every metroplex. And there's different throughout yours, like most have an African American chamber or Black chamber of commerce. And even those have become specialized, because now I've seen chambers of commerce for Hmong, Chinese, African American, Latino, LGBTQ. There's Veterans Chamber of Commerce that's specifically for veterans.
Yeah,
So
somebody
there's
just
all
told
these
me.
resources. You just need to look for them.
Absolutely. Somebody just told me about in North Carolina, they're doing a Christian Chamber of Commerce. So you got any excuse. All right. Um, is there anything else that you'd like to share? We've talked about your summit that's coming up. Is there anything else that you'd like to share with our audience about your work, about your journey, about how they can get in contact with you, anything like that?
Sure. Um, if you need any, grant writing, I always tell people for me, because most of my work is not done locally either. So I have clients in Seattle, New York, Illinois, St. Louis, Missouri. Um, so the work I do doesn't have to be local.
Okay.
But the benefit bring in anything that I do is because I'm a strategist and I'm going to look at strategy first
Mhm.
for whatever that you're doing, whether it's grant writing, whether it's workforce development, right? So I have that mindset. But when I wrote the book, I wanted to have things that complemented the book and the pause message. So I started Cohesion, which is my collective. So I have other makers that I sell their products as a part of the collective. So if I'm vending and I have my book, I also bring their products because it's a collective and we can all eat together. And we all eat, we all eat, right? So with the Cohesion, I have a online collective as well as in person. So if you're local, you can actually come here and shop by appointment, or you can order and pick up. But also anybody, no matter where you are, you can go to thepauseshop.com. You'll also see the Cohesion Collective on there. So you can shop from the different makers that I partner with, and their products complement the pause message. So I have makers that are doing body butters and candles. I carry the brand, which is they have the aromatherapy ink pen. So while you're journaling, you can have your. I have some Black authors that are on there in some of their books. So just us supporting in business.
I think that's so important. And I love the idea of having a collective of women and men who have like purposes or similarities that you can come together and boost each other as you go. That sounds, I have to go ahead and check out.
Chat.com. And for all others, I'm working on a blog. And for all the services and the links to even the portals and things, you can go to Stacia Thompson.
Awesome. Stacia, it has been a pleasure talking to you. I'll make sure that we put a nice description in there as well so that we know
Awesome.
how to get in contact with you. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
joining me for a faith and purpose. And I really wish you much success on the summit. And God bless you.
Awesome. Well, thank you. And you have a good one.
Thank you.
Bye.